Good morning, good afternoon, and in case I forget, good evening to all truth seekers, spiritual people, and lovely souls. This Sunday, the 2nd of June, at the Theosophical Society in Pretoria at 2:30 p.m. Yes, 2:30 p.m. 5 Umgazi Road, Menlo Park. We'll be watching and reviewing the unforgettable and very emotional film by the late Robin Williams called What Dreams May Come. What Dreams May Come. All welcome. What Dreams May Come was made in 1998. It is a fantasy drama directed by Vincent Ward, and it portrays the history of the Nielsen family, who experiences a series of tragic deaths, but in the end managed to reunite in heaven. Chris, played by Robin Williams, and Annie, his wife, Annabella Caesarea, lose their 2 children, Ian and Mari, in a car accident. Annie takes the death of her children very hard and goes into depression. Annie and Chris eventually divorce. 4 years later, Chris is also killed in a car accident. Unaware that he is dead and confused that no one will interact with him, Chris lingers on Earth. Only Annie is now left alive on Earth. Annie, suffering from depression, eventually commits suicide. On the other side, when they go to the great beyond, on the other side, Chris goes to hell in search of his beloved wife. So that's the narrative in a nutshell. So the movie is based on a book written by Richard Matheson in 1978. Vincent Ward also wrote the story for the famous Alien movie, Alien 3. Lieutenant Ripley crashes on a planet housing a penal colony, and the inmates have taken to religion and act like monks. The main actor, the protagonist, of course, is the late Robin McLaurin Williams. He was born on July the 21st, 1951, and he died in August the 11th, 2014. Some people say that it was a tragic death, he committed suicide, but I watched the documentary on Robin Williams and his suicide. We must keep in mind that he did have a brain disease, and that the brain disease contributed to his committing suicide. I don't think we should judge people who commit suicide so harshly. We don't know what's going on in the hearts and minds of people. If we look deeper into the narrative, there's this one scene where Chris is in a tunnel, he's riding in a tunnel, and there's an accident, and he goes, because he's a doctor, he goes to help whoever he can help. So whilst looking after someone injured in a car crash, Chris himself is hit by a vehicle and killed, and goes to heaven. And from there, he watches his wife Annie sink deeper and deeper into depression. She commits suicide and goes to hell. Despite the difficulty of the task, Chris sets out on a journey to save his wife and win her back for an eternal life in paradise. It's a modern day representation of Dante's classical works. The journey of the soul towards God. Some of the scenes have a very Dante feel to them, Inferno and so on. What Dreams May Come may seem to be primarily based on Western beliefs, but it also draws on concepts overly rooted in Eastern religious traditions. We see Hinduism, we see Buddhism, their understanding of the afterlife. This film is extremely emotional, so bring your tissues with. The film has a deeply emotional effect on the viewer, and one should be guided before watching the movie to not allow the emotional aspects to digress one from the real theme and thrust of the movie. The desire to communicate with loved ones is difficult to avoid. The danger of necromancy, however, are explored in this film and shows that it could be a hindrance to the natural progression of those who journey beyond the grave. Ward's film is a living picture, an image which substitutes reality for paintings in motion. It overwhelms the viewer with spectacular colors while playing with sophisticated luminance, alterations, ultimately delivering a visually captivating image. Color permeates the images. Combined with the film's unusual texture, this makes it visually immersive. An explosion of purples, blues, yellows, and greens. Chris's Heaven contrasts sharply with Annie's grey and ominously dark hell. And also we'll look at the colors in this movie. Color itself is a way of bringing a message across. Every color has a specific message. And so we're going to look at colors as well when we analyze this movie. Green is one when Annie goes for rehabilitation because of her suicide attempts. Everything is green, and that means something. Also, the contrast between red and blue play out a lot in this movie. We see people dressed either in blue or in red. And of course, red and blue, the masculine and feminine energies. Red being masculine, blue being feminine. So we'll talk about that as well. The color lilac. Lilac is very important. The purple color is everywhere in the movie. And that symbolizes heaven or the afterlife or the mysterious nature of the afterlife. Gray. Gray is the scenes where we see Annie in hell. Everything is gray. And obviously gray then represents depression and suicide and so on. And so we'll have a look at colors, because colors play an extremely important role, not only in this movie but in other movies as well. So heaven is no longer depicted using white clouds and blue skies. Instead, the Western popular tradition is replaced with 19th century German Romanticism. But of course, everyone's heaven is unique and different. The universe is big enough to accommodate everyone's conception of heaven. And this 19th century German Romanticism that we see is Mari's heaven that she has created for herself. Because that's what heaven is all about. Heaven is bringing your dreams to reality. A devashanic experience, nirvana, absolute bliss. And so this, her view of heaven is this 19th century German Romanticism, and you see people flying in the air, and there's this huge staircase, lots of steps, and people sitting, and bicycles, and very German romanticism orientated. There are no angels in this depiction of heaven, and even God is nowhere to be seen. In fact, the only person who bears any resemblance to God is Chris's latest son, who acts as his guide, called Albert, I think. Chris inhabits his own paradise, arranged, colored, and textured just like Annie's paintings. He's actually living inside Annie's paintings. That's his heaven. Anything he touches leaves a thick layer of oil paint on his hands. The movie also shows you vividly what hell is all about. Chris, along with Albert and a guide called the Tracker, are overwhelmed by lost souls on the way to hell. It strongly parallels The Raft of Medusa by Theodore Géricault, a French romantic artist. They are starkly desaturated, highlighting the feelings of despair. The most prominent color in both images is red when we go to hell, perhaps alluding to blood and passion. Both showcase an element of horror, a characteristic of romantic Gothic art. Hell is the wreckage of our technology and the rejection of our hubris. Technology is what destroys while nature heals. Significantly, both Chris and his children are killed by automobile accidents. So we see the horror of technology, and this horror of technology is displayed and depicted as hell. At the end of the movie, we see Chris and Annie uniting in a new life, and we see these children, a little boy, a little girl. A girl gives a little boy a sandwich at a lake, so it's like full circle because they met on the water, and it ends with them near the water, and so their lives start over again. So the whole idea of reincarnation is also explored and revealed to us in this movie. So come along, let's have a wonderful day together while we watch What Dreams May Come and have good fellowship and good food. Thank you. Bye-bye. See you on Sunday. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Live long. Live long.